What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 59. This is the September 2021 episode. And this morning we are sitting down with TCC President Robb Roach, Latin American Operations Manager Javier Fernandez, and Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg for the second time ever. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Hello.
It's been a good, year and a half? We had you on all of one episode, and then I think COVID started.
Exactly. So it's been, about 18 months. So glad to be back, that's for sure.
Happy to have you back.
In case anybody forgot, or just because it was so long ago, you want to give maybe a little introduction on yourself and whatnot?
So I came onto TCC about 3 years ago as kind of an inside sales role. Started out in operations, kind of backfilling for one of the girls who was out due to an injury. So I kind of got to learn the back end and then transferred over to the sales office with these guys to kind of, work on inside sales, market development, and kind of got looped into some marketing and, also helping to build our CRM and ERP platforms and whatnot. I've kind of gotten a little bit of everything here. So it's been nice to see, work with everything on all different spectrums, and now starting to get into some of the sales stuff with you guys. It's been a nice almost 3 years.
Full-on package plasticizer product manager, which has been something that's grown and grown.
Hey, it's fun. It's a fun gig. You learn a lot. So.
Absolutely. One of the core four over at the Pump House, so I know we all appreciate having you for sure. It's mid-September. It's been quite the September so far. It's obviously been quite the Q3, and I think it's going to continue to be the Q4. Starting to feel like fall around Rhode Island for sure.
Oh,
yeah. Starting to maybe see some leaves change a little bit. I know boats are coming out of the water. We're close to closing down the golf courses, even though our favorite golf course nearby just brought back their chicken and cheese sandwich.
That's very important.
Fantastic news.
They should stay open just to, keep that going at least once a week for us,
They usually go to about December.
And then they reopen in March. Just stay open the last 3 months.
I know. Well, they want to make the greens nice.
I know.
Even just for lunch,
They want to allow us to come over there and goose hunt to keep the geese off the greens.
Yeah.
So, we need that little option in December and January. So.
Yep.
Which is a nice thing. We
made our inaugural trip back to Mike's Kitchen up in Cranston this week.
It's been
a good eating couple weeks here.
Man, we've been eating good, yeah. It was actually the day I got a colonoscopy. My first ever. I'm 47 now, and they said at 45 that you're supposed to get it, so I delayed it 2 years, and all clean, which is good, but... No, we wanted to feast. Well, I wanted to feast, so I wrangled you guys in to go to the infamous Mike's Kitchen up in Cranston.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
Located in an Elks Club or something like that?
VFW?
Yeah, I think it's a VFW hall.
Yeah, and the thing about the place is that there's a bar that's separate from the food, so they've got these really grouchy waiters and waitresses, mainly waitresses, and they come over and you got to pay them, hurry up and pay them for the drinks.
Yep.
And then you got to wait for the food, but it's Italian food and
so good.
It's amazing.
Everything's delicious. I mean, you can't go wrong.
And I still got flack because I lived across the street for 2 years and didn't go one time.
I mean, a lot of people don't know about it. I mean, I meet a lot of people and we get into my favorite discussion point, which is, what's your favorite restaurant? Where do you eat? Rhode Island's got such an amazing diversity of food and cultures of food and all that sort of stuff. And I mentioned Mike's Kitchen, and people like, in Cranston? I live in Cranston. What do you mean Mike's Kitchen? I was like, you got to go there. It's just phenomenal.
It's a hidden gem.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is. And cash only. So if you do go.
All the culinary spots around, beautiful Newport, Providence. No, let's go to a VFW in Cranston. Fantastic.
They're always packed, though.
Oh, every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
All time of the day, they're always packed.
And it's like there's a seating. It's packed at noon, and you leave there at 1:30, and there's nobody there. Nobody coming in. It's like a one seating time.
I think you guys got all three of you got the chicken parm, didn't you?
I got the chicken francais.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mixing it up there, Benny, with the chicken.
I know. No, we've deemed Javi as the new chicken guy. Did you know
Oh,
that?
is he really?
Javi's now the chicken guy.
Well, he's Latino. They love their pollo. I've had the best pollo of my life in Latin America. They really know how to make Yardbird down there. But I was a little envious of AJ's soul with the Robbie.
Yeah.
That.
Wrapped up.
That's the one thing about AJ is he's always, ordering something new. He's always trying something new, and it works out for him sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. But the sole with Robbie, that looked really good.
Yeah, this episode brought to you by Mike's Kitchen. We need a sponsorship.
Don't go there. It's already crowded. You want to get a table.
But anyways, back to chemicals. A lot going on. Seemed like lots to talk about. We are certainly in peak hurricane season. I think we've had one legitimate hurricane come through, one tropical storm, at least just specific to the Gulf, that we're continuing to feel the effects of. Plants are still down. Power is still trying to come back. Still having trouble getting trucks in and out of the area. So as projected, and I guess to nobody's surprise, obviously hurricane season in full force and making a big impact in the chemical industry.
Southwest Louisiana got hit again. Those people are very resilient there, but the plants, there was a lot of problems, especially with polymers, and that was Ida. And then just this week we had, I'm not sure, I think the name was Harvey.
Tropical Storm Nicholas.
Okay, Nicholas really poured a tremendous amount of rain on Houston. All along basically the northwestern Gulf got just unbelievable. I mean, the amount of rain we got up here from Ida was unbelievable.
That was
I mean, that was insane. People were like, "Oh, a rainstorm's going to come through. It's just remnants of Ida." I think down in New York, you saw the flooding of the subways, and we got like 14 inches of rain in certain areas. I mean, it was just unbelievable, and a lot of damage and a lot of logistical movements for us out of New York, Port of New Jersey, were impacted. And so, it is unbelievable the amount of environmental impacts on our business there has been. And we need to recognize this. I mean, just think we're still suffering from Uri, which was a freezing event throughout, horrible freezing event throughout Texas last year. We're still suffering from that. So everybody wants to say COVID. Well, no, it's not. It's crazy weather events, so.
You can call it what you want. You can call it global warming. You can call
it whatever you want.
All of our plants being in the same area that's affected by these. It is what it is, but long story short, it's making a big impact.
The one thing about a chemical plant you can't do is unbolt it and move it. Once it's there, especially these monster plants that we all depend on for so many things. And they're in some very critical areas in terms of weather impacts. So
they're pipelined to other chemical plants for the raw materials, so they're connected to other chemical plants. So it's a cluster of chemical plants in different areas of the world. So they are strategically located. So they
throw on top of that an economic war with China between us and China, where we've depended upon them for the last 2 decades to supply us with so many different things, and now we're back to depending on these legacy plants that are integrated in these areas, as Avi's mentioning that. So you can't burn bridges nowadays, because when in terms of supply and suppliers, there are fewer and fewer.
Yep. And I think if nothing else, it's made everyone understand and appreciate their supply chains. Like you said, all these plants are all connected. I'm sure a lot of purchasing people never knew the 2, 3, 4, 5 products that went into what they're buying, but now they understand it because they need to know what's short, what's tight, what's causing these issues. I think a lot of people are more well-educated, maybe unfortunately, than they were 2 years ago.
Maybe from watching this podcast.
I would hope so. I would certainly hope so. Certainly hope so. China, like you just said, Rob, is also a big issue. Javi, I know you've been looking a lot at imports and material coming back and forth. I know we're hearing some not so great reports starting to trickle out of China. We've mentioned it for the last 2-3 months in the podcast, but China is looking like it's going to continue to be a problem based on supply.
Yeah, they're doing an environmental reform, so there are a lot of plant closures in a bunch of these clusters. They're trying to clean up the environment. So this is becoming an issue in a bunch of products and chemistries.
What was the number we heard? Something like up to 10,000 plants?
10,000 plants will be shut down from now until the end of the year.
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. I mean, the impact of that alone, I don't think it's really settled yet with folks. Maybe they're hearing it for the first time right now, but please pay attention. Yeah. This is huge. They've got the Olympics. Remember the last time there was Olympics in China? Remember the impacts on supply?
Yep.
That was before all this other stuff is impacted. So already the government, as a communist government can do, they just said, everybody shut down. We want to analyze what kind of environmental impacts you're having because we've got such a big event coming up in the Olympics in February. February's a long way away.
Yep. You couple that with, plants shutting down, ports maybe getting a little bit tighter with security as stuff comes in for the Olympics. It's going to be a problem.
Already restrained supply, already 5x, 6x now on shipping across from China, which you aren't going to be able to get any of that stuff that we're so dependent upon.
Yep.
Holiday in the beginning of October, New Year, always have an impact. COVID, resurging here and there. You're hearing about it, in places outside the United States, even within the United States. I mean, there's just so many things that people need to pay attention. I mean, I have to laugh when people are like, well, things are, your price is too high. Things are going to change. You're going to be, it's going to crash. When's it going to crash? I mean, when is it going to crash? Because more and more impacts, and when you're starting to read about these things in the Wall Street Journal, all these costs, these drivers that are going to everything that we use every day are starting to really impact. And it's not going to get better. And at least not until probably summer of next year, minimum. So
yeah, people aren't wrong. The pricing probably will come down at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Not going to be anytime soon.
It's not even about price. And one of my good, CEO of one of my good customers, I deal with his purchasing folks. He called me. He goes, "What's going on here, Rob?" And I said, you can't operate at a loss. All these costs, and he wasn't talking about our product specifically because that raw material is actually sort of plateaued and it's there, but he's talking about all his other costs now, specifically say PVC, which is impacted by the hurricane. Never seen it this high in price. And he wants to do the right thing for his customers, but every time he goes through and he raises a price and he feels guilty about it, the purchase orders still come in because they're getting it. They're getting it down the line.
Yep.
And as much as it's easy to say, it's a fact. You have to recoup. And it is going to have an impact on the consumer, us consumers, and it already has. You're seeing it on the shelves. You're seeing the costs come up. So inflation isn't over.
And I think the overwhelming advice based on all that, based on supply shortages, based on China being an issue, based on logistics still being an issue, is to really start planning for Q1 2022. I think we've already started to get some customers understanding that, getting some large POs to bring material in stock for the beginning of next year. But now really is the time to start securing inventory.
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing that in Latin America, and we're starting to see in planning ahead because of the longer lead times. But then December comes in, and December is a funny month because people want to keep their inventories low, so their books look good.
Yep.
They want to make sure the financial picture on December 31st is the best as it can be.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, Javi, make sure you ship, but make sure can it get here first week of January. I'm like, I cannot track that. It's difficult. It's difficult for me, but we're managing. We're trying to make it work. We work with our customers, and December is a tricky month because of inventories for our customers because of their year ends. So most companies work with calendar year. We're working through it.
Yeah, you got to really contemplate that this is mid-September. We're sitting here right now, and people are talking about supply in early January 2022.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's 3 months away. Where the pipeline is usually 6-8 weeks. You're talking 3 months now, and that just shows that the impact to supply chains is that severe. And the most disappointing thing is there's nothing really being done about it.
Yep.
That's disappointing, from our government, from the European government, from all governments. They're not really, they're not seeing how heavy an impact this is going to have and doing something about it.
Yeah.
And this should be an opportunity to get into shipping and freight and logistics and all this sort of stuff for the next generation. But
we're just paying the shipping companies whatever they want.
yeah, that's straight out of the bottom line and trickles down out of the bottom line of everybody below us and above us.
Yes.
So it's like, this is severe impact. Hello,
Yeah.
Let's wake up. Let's
Yeah.
do something about it.
And I know we've talked logistics a little bit. We're happy to have Joe Hassenfratz from the Logistix Company coming on the podcast here in a couple minutes. But obviously logistics, kind of to summarize everything, remains a a struggle. I know, Nicole, you're doing a lot with the package plasticizers. Even just getting totes, drums, getting material to packaging sites has been a fun project.
It's been challenging. At first, we were like, "Oh, this is great! You know, you need empty totes, empty drums, boom, for repacks." And now it's like we're seeing lead times of at least 2 to 4 weeks, depending on, you know, the volume, how much you're looking for, what, you know, whether it's 275 gallons versus 330 gallon totes. There are, you know, several different types of drums that, you know, certain products might need to repack into, and based on customer specifications. So there's a lot of logistics in trying to get, you know, and coordinate based on when, you know, the product is going to arrive to the repack site too.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of all got to go in line.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, but you know, the TLC guys, I mean, it's nice to have them as, you know, in our wheelhouse, because
great
you know,
resource.
Oh, for sure. That partnership is amazing. I can't imagine trying to, you know, cold call on these, you know, tote and drum companies, and, you know, and try to coordinate all that. I give them a lot of credit for putting up with us and helping us, you know, make it all work.
And something we heard for the first time too, that we're starting to have maybe some limitations on some of these warehouses, how much material we can have there, whether that's warehouses, people stocking up, maybe that's windshield wash fluid and things like that coming in wintertime, but we're, for the first time, I think, getting some pushback maybe on availability.
Yeah, so I spoke with one of the warehouses specifically, and the manager was like, yeah, we're seeing all this package material all of a sudden. This was probably like 2-3 months ago. He's like, yeah, typically we wouldn't see people bringing in this much material just for stock. He's like, but like, he doesn't think anything of it, because he's like, oh, it's going in their space, boom, we're good. And I said to him, well, is it a trend that you're seeing? He's like, oh yeah, everyone's doing it now. All of a sudden it just picked up. And I'm like, because if they can't get bulk, they're going to get package material, and it's all going to come at the same time, because everyone kind of had the same idea. Well, let's just ship it in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it. So, yeah, we've run into some, you know, just bumps in the road, but nothing that's prevented us from, you know, doing what we need to do to, you know, get inventory, keep stock, you know, fulfill outstanding orders and whatnot, and just get, you know, all of our repacks.
The value of the packaged products has risen tremendously in our industry, because when you pay more for a tank truck or an ISO and you can't get any capacity, you can't get a driver to drive those trucks, you can still do LTL and totes and drums. You can still do full drive-in. Isn't as bad as liquid bulk, isn't as bad as ISO. Rail still doing okay, but the rail lines, I mean, everybody's procuring rail cars now because they can't move trucks long distances. No driver wants to go from Brownsville to Philadelphia. There, you won't find a truck to do that, because that's going to take a dedicated driver, and it's going to take them out for a week. So you won't find that. So the packaged goods have given the ability for people to ratably produce, and so we've seen an explosion in that. Something to emphasize that Nicole and Ben brought up is that warehouse space is becoming more and more limited. Okay, so people are relying on the packaged goods. They're filling up warehouses critically low at this point. So that's another thing to pay attention to. And finally, something that was pointed out to me by the Logistix Company, which is very interesting, is that drummed material does not require a special what do they call? What did I call it?
Tanker endorsement?
Tanker endorsement. Thank you, Nicole. So a tanker endorsement, whether you have 4 totes or 20 totes on a truck, you need a tanker endorsement on that. Some drivers can get tankers endorsements, some aren't, but it gives you more leverage. The point is that drums give you more leverage, because they consider 55 gallons under the threshold of a major spill. So if somebody unfortunately pops a 55-gallon drum, you're only going to spill 55 gallons. You hit a tote, it's 270 or 330 gallons. That's a major spill.
Exactly.
So that tanker endorsement is something to keep in mind when you're buying. If you can use drums, maybe you should.
Yep.
Because it gives you more flexibility in how you get deliveries and how you can move the product. Again, dry freight, dry van isn't as bad as liquid bulk. So
Right.
that's why packaging is exploded. So,
And I mean, to your point, we've seen so much of that where, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of issues scheduling trucks for the LTL, even the full truckload of totes, drums, as opposed to what you guys see with the liquid bulk and ISOs. I mean, it's crazy.
a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
So in all that fun, I know, Javier, you're still taking a close look at Mexico and Latin America. Obviously, similar logistics challenges down there with trucks and freight. But what's the general feeling with both your customers and suppliers in Latin America?
Better planning,
Yeah.
longer lead times, and new opportunities. New opportunities that open up for on the supply side and also on the procurement side. We're looking to new geographies for new products. And because China is not the answer anymore, and we have look at India, we have look at Turkey, we have look at Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, you name it, Brazil, Argentina for different things on the supply side and procurement side. So it's been really fun. I mean, my job is really fun.
It doesn't sound like it's very fun. You're very monotone today.
Add a little more spunk to that, Jav. Come on.
That couldn't have been any more less convincing.
It has been a good run in the last while. It's been very, very, very dynamic. So it's pretty cool.
Would you say demand is back to 100%? Is it getting close to there?
Well, COVID is getting better.
Yep.
I mean, I hate to bring it up again, but it's getting better. Vaccination is getting up to speed, not as fast as in the U.S., but it's getting better. I mean, I have friends that are getting vaccinated now. I mean, that are my age, so it's getting better. So with that said, people are getting back to the offices. Plants are running with skeleton crews. Plants were running the whole time. There were periods that were shut down, or when they were required to be vital. So some industries were shut down, but most of them were running.
Yeah.
But people are getting back to the offices as we speak. So that's good. That's good for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been lucky enough to be traveling with Javi in different places. His mom catches up with us. And like, for example, when we were in Buenos Aires, and Buenos Aires is known for great leather goods. So his mother would go out on a shopping spree, and I'm talking serious shopping sprees. Well, in the last year or so, Javi goes out on shopping sprees. He's buying 10, 20, 30 containers of this. I'm starting to see where it comes from now.
The apple does not fall far
Like
from
mother,
the
like
tree.
son.
Yeah.
So he loves his shopping sprees, because I am convinced he loves this, because he loves to buy from all over the world, and he's got great relationships. So I can see the enthusiasm through the mask.
Oh, yeah. Well, he gets this little glimmer in his eye, and you're like, oh, I know that look.
Yeah, his mom buys $200 purses. He buys $60,000 containers.
That's right.
Same thing.
10 at a time, just like his mother.
Same thing. Well, at this point, we're excited to have Joe Hassenfratz from the Logistix Company back on. I think we had him on 2 months ago. Trying to get on the cadence of having him on every couple of months as freight and logistics either changes or maybe hasn't changed so much. So at this point, we'll throw it over to Joe for an update on logistics. Hey, Joe.
Hey,
What's happening?
not much. How you doing?
Doing well. We were out at our first trade show last week. I know we were both there. It was a good show.
Great show.
Nice to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. The TCC booth was looking sharp.
Thank you.
Shout out Kettlebottom.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate it. Joe Hassenfratz, sales manager from the Logistix Company. I know we had you on, I guess it was 2 months ago now.
Yep.
Hoping to get you on a regular, maybe every other month, something like that. Feature on the podcast. Nice having a dedicated logistics person here to really, I know obviously we talked about on our side and, all the struggles with freight and logistics, but obviously you're in the weeds day to day. So good to have your background and opinions on stuff. But maybe in case anyone didn't catch the first episode, if you want to give a little background and bio both on yourself and TLC.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for having us. Here at TLC, as the dedicated sales and marketing individual, we try and bring on new carriers and customers as well. Got our start with liquid bulk, tank trucks, ISOs, and then have since expanded to a lot more realms, dry packaging, dry vans, and intermodal rail, as well as LTL, and pretty much everything. So as the partner to not only TCC but many other chemical distributors, we have to be very diverse in what we do on a day-to-day basis. So there's not too many 3PLs out there that can do the diverse needs that are currently out there. So that's kind of what differentiates TLC from a lot of other 3PLs that basically pick a lane and kind of try and stay in that lane. we make it very difficult on ourselves by trying to do everything.
Yep.
And
But at the same time, it's a huge service ad for you guys.
absolutely. And our ops team back at TLC does a wonderful job of making sure that they're trying to keep up with all of the carriers that can service every single one of those needs. So yeah, it's been at that show was very great to be there and build potential new customer base, but given the current freight market, had to have my boxing gloves out every now and again. It was some tough questions as to what's going on in the freight industry for sure.
Absolutely. And I know within the freight world, there's kind of 4 core services, if you will, that TLC offers. I know you guys do a lot with the importing and exporting, dealing with ports, truck freight, both liquid bulk and dry van freight, LTL freight, as well as the intermodal or rail options. I know all 4 have their unique challenges and difficulties these days. I don't know if anyone maybe stands out to cover first on what you're seeing and what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So import export, I think it's no mystery right now that the ports have been getting crushed. I think speaking on it the last podcast, it has not improved.
Yep.
Saw a report out this past week that Port of LA has a record number 61 container ships just
Crazy.
circling around, waiting to be allowed into port. That doesn't even include any of the barges or anything else that are also kind of congesting that port. So certainly very challenging. Anything coming out of East Asia. China, of course, has a long wait list to get anything onto a ship. We do have some pretty good contacts that kind of help us to prioritize some more than other, but that has been a significant challenge in the logistics world. Port New York, New Jersey, we're seeing a lot more success with anything coming in that's dry. There's so many ISO containers right now that are just stacking up, and we're actually seeing an issue, not even just in Port New York, New Jersey, but many ports that empty ISO containers are actually being turned away because there's such a backlog of containers that already are waiting to get back to their final destination. So the trickle down of waiting to be picked up to finally make it back to the actual end user is compounding day by day. So interesting developments at the ports for sure. As far as actual liquid trucking in general, anything outbound northeast to down south, there's such a huge demand as it is for just local, what they consider local runs, that we're seeing some challenges in finding those longer runs. Because
is there a line where it's like local versus long, 400 miles, 600 miles?
Yeah, I would say anything that they could do, a driver could do in a day and back, that's what they're considering local.
Okay.
So anything above that or outside those parameters is just being pushed to the back of the list at this point, just because there's so much more demand for what they consider, again, local, that there's no need to send a driver out for a 2-3 day run when they could complete 3 runs in that time.
One time, yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Absolutely. But dry, we're seeing a lot more success. That seems to be opening up a little bit more, not even just regionally, but in general. California seems to be one of the main spottier markets, inbound and outbound. So anything moving dry out of there, it just depends the day of the week, and you're going to see rates that are kind of all over the place. So outside of that, it seems to be coming down day by day. But California, again, just the trickle-down effect of all those ports is just insane.
And when you talk like dry containers, so maybe if you're looking to move some liquid product, there could be some benefit in moving a load of totes or drums versus trying to look at a bulk tanker. Even though the totes and drums may be a little more expensive, you pay a marginal fee for the packaged material to actually get stuff, which could take weeks and weeks.
Absolutely. I think since the last time we talked, that's a burgeoning business that we're looking and growing every single week. We have so many repackaging requests and warehousing requests that we're able to fulfill because of just the increased demand for just having product on hand. Heaven forbid there's a shutdown or any one producer can't fulfill this. Just getting anything at all. The repackaging market is blossoming right now for sure.
And I know on the TCC side, we're getting a lot of inquiries for the 4 totes, 6 totes, 10 totes, whether it's to cover a load stuck at the port or you can't get a liquid truck, something like that. People are looking for totes to cover material. So I'm sure the LTL market's been all over the place too. What do you guys see on an LTL?
Yeah, again, to your point, just getting anything to help someone get by has been a lot more of a recent occurrence. So LTL in general is a challenging market, just given how much is moving at any given time.
Yeah.
And hazardous materials, we're finding there's only a select few carriers who are even willing to touch it at this point, and that seems to be dwindling, just given the current demand across the board.
Yeah.
Similar to the liquid, that they can kind of backfill in all of those requests with other non-hazardous requests. So.
And obviously that hurts customers or people that are buying two pallets a month, 4 pallets a month. That's their total demand. That's what they're using, whether it's liquid or dry. All these people that are historically bulk users now taking up this LTL capacity, it's obviously trickles down, like you said, to now hurting some of these, quote unquote smaller for TCC's business, but quote unquote smaller, users. So it's
Absolutely
challenging for everybody.
Yeah, and we're seeing the lead times are, more necessary than ever, and there's a certain point that end users are either going to have to bend to whatever the new norm is as far as the significant increases in pricing that we've been seeing, or try and plan out a lot further ahead as far as getting larger quantities to fulfill that demand.
And I think we talked about it a little bit, but the rail side and the intermodal side, are you seeing more demand or opportunities with maybe intermodal for some long haul moves? Is intermodal and rail been extremely difficult, or what are you guys seeing on? I know you manage a fleet of rail cars normally, and then obviously a bunch of spot orders for moving things cross country or whatnot. But what's the feeling with rail these days?
Yeah, on the spot side of rail, we're seeing what used to be a very competitive marketplace no longer is the case.
Yeah.
Again, there's such a high demand to get these containers to where they're typically going on these longer hauls that rail kind of fulfills the need for.
Yeah.
We're seeing, dry van or chassis moves way more competitive than ever. So rail used to be an excellent alternative if timing wasn't an issue. Not so much the case anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we do have a good dedicated team that moves those cars for us. So that business that was always there is being completely unaffected. So
what about the regular business? Like, I know you manage whatever it is, 20, 30 rail cars for regular business customers that buy rail car quantities and need large quantities. Is it kind of business as usual? Has rail been any more or less difficult for the regular business?
no, given those relationships that we already had for those rail cars, there's been no real issue. It's just a matter of planning those out and
Sure.
properly communicating, not only with us, but also the rail themselves as far as what we need and
Yeah.
when we need it. So
Yeah.
thankfully, we do have those in our back pocket to lean on, and can obviously pass those savings along to the customers who have been giving us that dedicated business.
Sure.
But outside of that, again, the spot business has been extremely challenging.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of your update mirrors what we've been talking about on the broader episode with logistics issues, freight issues, planning ahead for Q1, allowing plenty of flexibility. So appreciate your update as always.
Absolutely.
Good to see you again. What's coming up for the next 2 months? I'm sure you'll be at some trade shows, doing some travel, or where can people connect with TLC?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be at the Northeast Rail Association show next week. We'll be attending the AFPM show in October. We have a Inbound Logistics podcast that will be coming out within the next 2 weeks.
Very nice.
Once that gets finally edited up, and
Yep.
that'll be on the website and our LinkedIn page as well, so that
Nice.
again, it'll kind of expand upon what we just talked about today, our capabilities, all that good stuff, all things TLC.
And obviously always available online, social media.
We are always available. We have a great marketing team that supports us and puts out the updates on a weekly basis. So
Yeah.
tune in for hopefully better news.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll link up the TLC social media pages and website wherever you're streaming this down below. Make sure to put your maybe email address and website down there, so I'm sure anyone can reach out directly to you for any inquiries or even just ask some questions about what's going on.
Be happy to.
But yeah, great to have you back on the episode, and we'll hope to have you on here in the next 2-3 months.
Hoping for a much more positive outlook.
I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to September pricing trends. Obviously, it seems like things are still moving up or at least staying flat based on supply and demand fundamentals, something we've been talking about for a long time, while we obviously follow raw material pricing, benzene, ethylene, propylene, crude. That's a factor, but obviously the supply and demand fundamentals continuing to play a big role, and I think is still contributing to the fact that pricing continues to either be flat or move up based on some tight material inventories.
Yeah, well, we're less focused on the raw materials nowadays versus just getting the product, supply and demand fundamentals driving everything. But, typically as a run-up to the winter season, you see things like propane, oil, natural gas increase. We've already seen that. Also, the hurricanes in the Gulf took out a lot of oil supply. The rigs were shut down, some broken, some destroyed. Demand is increasing worldwide now for things like jet fuel, motor fuel. People are getting, as Javi mentioned, there were complete lockdowns in Latin America where you weren't even allowed to come out of your house. Now that's ending, so you're starting to see a return to normalcy when it comes to consumer demand for things like gasoline and diesel and petrol. So we are watching that. We're also watching things like ethylene, propylene, benzene, which are directly impacted by these costs. So propane, for example, is expected to go up as we go into the winter season. That'll affect propylene, et cetera. So supply and demand fundamentals coupled with expected rise in raw material pricing equals higher prices, if you can get it.
And Javier, I know we've seen continued price increases based on freight, whether it's coming from China or Europe. The ocean freight continues to be a problem.
The ocean freight and the vessel space has been a headache. Yeah, like we have stuff on the boat and taken off, delayed, rollovers, you name it. We have it all.
Yep.
So it's been tough, but we're happy. People are happy to get stuff. We're happy to receive stuff when we get it.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And in addition to the product pricing getting more expensive, obviously I know Nicole's seen packaging get more expensive. So
just from 6-7 months ago, maybe even the cost of a tote versus a drum has increased. So everything's going up, and so actually the Logistix Company has kind of given us a heads up that the reason we're seeing kind of these shortages on totes, drums, is due to the raw materials that go into making these. So it, like you said, it trickles down kind of, to all these different levels, and we're seeing it on all fronts. But we're just trying to work and, do everything we can to make it going,
Absolutely. Moving on, featured products, some seasonal products. I can touch on the seasonal products real quick. We're coming into winter season, so we're looking at methanol for windshield wash fluid, something TCC. Maybe one of the, relatively few products that I'd say we have pretty strong availability on is the methanol. We're in a pretty
prices have moved up though as well.
Absolutely.
And they follow the energy values. So we expect it to strengthen.
Yep.
Here somewhat. That's tempered by other factors, but yeah, we've seen methanol strengthen, which it, in my career, typically does coming into the high demand season.
Yep. And another seasonal product, dicyandiamide, hot topic these days. Between the fertilizer season kind of coming up through the winter and getting ready for next spring, also with the China issues, we're seeing a lot of demand really right about now. People are, I think, getting the message and starting to stock up on Dicey. So if you're even a small Dicey buyer, highly recommend understanding your supply chain and getting material going.
Buy
now.
By now, yeah.
Javi's the expert,
Yeah,
right?
my jaw hit the floor when I looked at the import stats this morning and saw how many are in cargo and how many are pending. It's
growing.
Yeah, and AJ's not here because he's out on the road selling, and it's definitely good advice right now to buy now because we've just reported the beginning of this podcast of what happened in China. We're suspect on even stuff that is pending.
as you say, sus.
Sus. Yeah, well, I get that from my kids, man. I get that from my teenage kids, man.
Yeah,
The
that's
sus.
sus. I was like, what is that? Suspect.
Us adults don't really know about that stuff.
You'll
But.
get
Sus
there one
is
day.
suspect, by the way.
And then there's no cap. You know what no
Yes.
cap means?
No.
You guys don't know what no cap means?
No.
That's like I'm not lying. No cap. You know, so it's, I'm not like no BS. That's no cap. So
I mean,
So when
the
Javi tells you to
standard,
place POs, it's no cap. Like he's not lying. Like you place orders.
someday when your child grows up to a teenager, you'll teach me
Yeah.
these.
I'm out of the loop. I'm so out of the loop.
But we're gonna know the Spanish slang. We're not gonna know the English slang. We'll know
Yeah,
the
true.
Spanish slang at that point.
All right.
So between our dicey purchases and Javi's shopping sprees, we're keeping Rob up at night. But that's okay. We're keeping you supplied.
I'm earning these bags on our eyes. I'm telling you.
But the other big featured product worth talking about, I think we've mentioned it on and off in the past, is our definitely growing and expanding packaged business, especially packaged plasticizers. Happy to have our in-house packaged plasticizer manager here with us this morning to talk about it more. But a great business and something we're continuing to grow and expand on.
Yeah, so from general purpose to specialty esters, we cover from soup to nuts, the spectrum. So, obviously we got into this, actually probably close to a year ago is when we first started,
Really, yeah. I mean, the idea was brought up maybe 2, but really got heavy into it. Yeah, a year and a half ago, something like that.
And I mean, it's been a lot to learn, but at the same time, it's such a growing business. People are looking for other options when they can't get their bulk shipments or their ISO. They can't find a truck to pick it up and deliver it to them. So they're finding alternatives, and if they're stocking up on material and they can't take in. They can't unload into their tank or whatever it is. They're like, you know what? We can take some totes. We can take some drums. We'll put them on the floor. Well,
It adds flexibility.
yeah, definitely.
It adds flexibility and emergency stock people may have in them just in case, It's good to have.
Yeah, kind of twofold. Whether you buy totes regularly, if you're a smaller consumer, or like you said, trying to cover a gap between a bulk shipment or a delay, it's been great to expand that business.
And again, buy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. The other nice thing about the package is it gives us the opportunity to sell smaller users.
Yes.
And that's something that we sort of breezed over because the big users are now in charge of buying so much package. But I don't think I ever got more excited of an order of one tote of something that we sold to one of my favorite lure companies the other day.
That
So
we did.
for fishing,
That we did.
I'm not going to mention the customer, but we just sampled a tote order to trial to one of my favorite bass, soft plastic suppliers to my fishing addiction, and so that was.
Are you getting some samples?
Yeah, it's not my customer, but I'm gonna be going with that person to visit for sure. So see if I can get some samples.
That's what I quoted him. The price didn't have any numbers in it. It was just a bunch of free samples. We did a little.
Oh, is that your account? I thought it was AJ's.
No, it's me.
Oh, it's you.
we did a little.
So exciting.
We did a little trade.
Betty's had a big week this week. He's
Yeah,
doing pretty
Betty.
good.
But
That
I
is
mean, to your
good.
point, too, Rob, like the LTL business on the package side is definitely, I mean, it's bumping. People are, it's booming. So,
It is.
yeah, but I mean, it's great business.
And you're doing a great job of it. I mean, you're doing a great job getting working with TLC, getting it packaged, and so it's a big success for us. And
Well, and I mean, it takes all of you guys too.
it's
everyone-
diversification. Well, we're helping you sell it a little bit, but it's diversification of the company, of what we're offering, our offerings, and it's a very important part of our business.
Well, and I think too, it's allowed us to strike up conversations that we might not have been able to at that level before. And accounts you already have, and they say, "Wait a minute, you now offer this in totes, drums, whatever," and it's like, "Oh yeah." They're like, "Oh, this is awesome."
Yeah.
The relationship's there, and it's just one more thing that you can add to your line card.
We're talking about the esters, but we've always done LTL, dry goods. We've always
Oh,
done
yeah.
LTL. This has just been a focused effort on a
Toward-
particular product line. Just not to say that we haven't done LTL, but we're not considered in that realm of, say, a Univar, a Brenntag, et cetera, of a full service, chemical distribution guy. But we're moving in that direction, step by step, day by day. We're doing that, and it's exciting.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So just for this episode, instead of sending Javi a WhatsApp, we'll send Nicole a WhatsApp after this if you need any packaged products.
By all means, hey. I'm here for it.
We're in Champions League season, so Javi's not really available. So talk to Nicole.
What'd you say, Jav? Tuesdays and Wednesdays?
Tuesdays and Wednesdays afternoon every other week. I'm off the clock. Yeah, my soccer takes priority. It's a good talking point. I mean, I gotta say, with the customers in Latin America, we all talk soccer. You know?
That's
It's
your
very
jam.
important.
Also
yeah.
with the Europeans too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about. A lot of big changes.
A lot of big
personnel moves.
changes. Messi moved to Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
You know, Cristiano Ronaldo moved to Manchester United. So it's a lot of moving parts
Crazy.
in the soccer world.
We'll have a standalone episode just on soccer.
Right.
Yes, yeah, we can.
And wrapping things up, events, trade shows, conferences. TCC was at the Chemicals America show last week, which was our first post-COVID
How was that?
exhibiting booth. It was fantastic. Thank you for everyone that stopped by the booth to specifically give a shout out about the podcast. It was pretty cool having people come by just to kind of give us kudos, and especially me and AJ being there, they recognized. It was funny. You could tell who listened to it versus watched it because people would come over and say, "Oh, you guys do a great job." And then once either me or AJ spoke, they're like, "Oh, wait, you're actually on the podcast." Like they don't recognize us; they just know our voice. So it was kind of cool.
That is cool.
But the show was well attended. A lot of customers, a lot of suppliers. I think one of our favorite shows we do in a year. The traffic at the booth was good, so we're excited about that show. Excited
Good
to
looking
take part.
booth. Good looking
Yeah,
booth.
you guys did a great job there.
It's these guys. I take
Thank
zero
you.
credit.
Thank you, Kettlebottom Creative.
Yeah, those
Yes,
graphics.
Good
came
looking
off.
booth. Good looking
Absolutely.
booth. Like I like the lights. I like it looks
Professional.
very
Yeah.
sharp.
yeah.
Very
Yeah.
sharp.
Very sharp. I like that.
And I'm glad you like how the booth looks because you're responsible for putting together in 2 weeks
Yeah.
for the Elastomer.
So
That's
I'll
right.
probably put it together.
Yeah, I
Javi
know.
will,
Okay.
you know, he'll.
Go ahead with
Moral support. Moral support.
Yeah, exactly. Moral support. Unless soccer's on it, then I'm
Oh,
really
yeah,
on my
that's a
own.
Good point. Good point. But yeah, TCC will be at the Elastomer conference in Pittsburgh coming up here, I guess, the first week of October. And then I know, Nicole, you're putting a bunch of plans together for the AFPM coming up pretty soon.
Yes, very excited about that. I can't believe we're finally going to be attending AFPM after 2020, and now that we're finally going to be in October for this. So yeah, looking forward to that and seeing everyone there between the golf, the cocktail reception. We've got some fun stuff planned. So yeah, we're looking forward to connecting with everyone.
Absolutely.
Hopefully people show up. I mean,
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, I think people are kind of itching at this point too
Yeah.
to get out and kind of reconnect because
Well, the RSVPs for the cocktail party are pretty robust, which
Yeah.
is nice. And, it's nice to see people wanting to come out. There are some big companies that are restricting travel still. So, but hey, man, we're going to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And the food that caterer company does for our cocktail party is so good.
Oh my God.
If there's less people there, it's okay. It's just more for us. It's fine,
Yeah,
fine by
that
me.
I have to say that's one of the fun parts of that
Yeah.
planning is getting to look at the menu and go, ooh, okay,
Yeah.
And now that we already have our reservations in place, thank you, Nicole, we got to mention the shrimp paisano. Because it's like one of the whole reasons, you haven't tried it yet, Nicole,
I
but one of the
know.
whole reasons to go to San Antonio.
It'll change your life.
So I've heard of this the past year and a half. I have heard this more times than I can count. So I feel like I can almost taste it. So nothing better get in the way of that actually happening because, oh man, I'm looking forward to it.
I was in San Antonio for 4 nights 2 years ago, and I had shrimp paisano 3 of them.
Really? 3 nights? Wow. That's like a record.
Wow.
I think one time I was there. Well, I'm usually there Friday through Wednesday. So what's that? 5-6 nights.
Yep.
And I think I did 3 or 4, something like that. But only, you were there less time and had equally as much. Whew. That's impressive.
And you do the
that's a
shrimp paisano
craving.
dinner with the pasta and the appetizer with just the shrimps.
Oh my God, you did all? No way, you did that.
It's your
wow.
it's your fault. You got me in there. It's all your fault.
That's a little overdosing right there.
I love it. But yeah, looking forward to the AFPM. Looking forward to getting back to San Antonio. Plastics Compounders Conference in December, and then we're starting to plan for a whole suite of shows. The coating show, the AFPM, the various Chemicals America shows in 2022 that I'm sure we'll start talking about once we get past AFPM here. But a lot to look forward to, a lot of travel. Looking forward to really getting back out and seeing people in person as much as we can.
Sounds good to me.
Definitely.
I think that kind of wraps things up. I think we got a lot going on, lots to talk about. Pretty good episode, I would say. A lot of different things going on. Hopefully, kind of explained or updated on a lot of what we're seeing. A lot to wrap your head around and understand. But I think the overall feeling is really start securing your supply chains now, well into the beginning of next year. Now really is the time to place POs. You can send them right via WhatsApp to Javi.
Yes.
No, we're not taking any orders through WhatsApp. You only do it through the office.
Sorry, Karen.
Orders are only accepted.
TCC orders at thekemco.com.
Bingo.
There you go.
TCC orders.
That's the
at
only.
thekemco.com.
That's the official.
Kettlebottom Creative. Can we get
Yeah, I
that
was gonna
on the screen right here, please? Right
Right,
now. Yeah.
right,
all right.
right,
Ben's
right
got
there.
it. Okay. Right.
I
there.
repeat, TC orders only accepted at TCC orders at thekemco.com.
Right there.
Thank
Right
you.
there.
Beautiful.
Yes, thank you. No, we really
Oh.
appreciate everybody listening, and I think it's it sounded like one of our lunches. You know, back to food again.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Thank you for listening. Again, thank you for all the feedback on the podcast. We really appreciate it. If there's anything else we can talk about, cover, go over, expand upon more, we're happy to do so. Just drop us a note. Otherwise, I guess we'll have the trade episodes here coming up next, sometime in the next couple of weeks, followed by our October recording. So looking forward to all that, and looking forward to the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.